Yeah, so today's episode is one that speaks deeply to the layers of identity, migration, and resilience. Because I often talk about the experience of a first generation immigrants, and especially those who were brought to Canada as babies, as little kids, right? And how complex that journey can be. Like, whew, you're raised in a home where you witness your parents navigating that immigration system that, to be honest, it can be a fucked up system, and adjusting to that new culture, language, many new ways of living. And often, even though you left the country of your origin, that was, you know you were in like survival mode, and you enter like a new kind of survival mode, right? So, and one that's might be a little bit quieter and sometimes even invisible. And that's what I want to talk about because we feel that very deeply. And so I want to like open up this space by asking you, Karma, what was it like for you growing up, um, being brought here from Haiti, sorry, and those having those roots growing up, that background, what that early experience teach you, and yeah, about like belonging and about resilience, about your identity. How did
hmm
that shape you?
hmm Yeah, thank you for asking that. It's a big question. And just to clarify, so I didn't come to Canada as an immigrant family. I was actually adopted out of my home country, Haiti, and adopted into a Canadian family. So I didn't have to
Mm,
navigate those struggles of, the whole family unit getting integrated into
hey,
Canada. Yeah, I forgot to mention that when we spoke behind the scenes.
yes.
So it's a little bit of a different journey, but still I
Mm-hmm.
have the aspects of, fitting into a new country, making my own
Absolutely.
roots, having um the new lines of this Canadian family and working through all of that together, as well
Mm-hmm.
as having like the ancestral memory of my family in Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking to your question, yeah, coming to Haiti, I was 2 years old, about 2 years old, just a new baby. So
Okay, okay.
yeah, so I was young, so grew up in this family, in this neighborhood in the lower mainland of BC, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was, I mean, it was good for me. I grew up in a
Mm-hmm.
really nice household. We had everything that we could have possibly needed. We knowing now later in my life, there were some financial struggles that did happen,
Mm,
but
okay.
it wasn't something that was very in the forefront of our growing up. My parents always tried to give us, we went on trips to Disneyland. We'd have really beautiful Christmas holidays.
Mm-hmm.
The struggle that was there wasn't the big issue all of the time. So we did have a very comfortable childhood, I would say,
Mm, that's
growing
so
up.
interesting.
hmm
Yeah, because yeah, and how growing up, how did you connect with your ancestors, with like your yeah, once you become an adult, you became an adult, like how was that for
hmm
you? Like, okay, I know I'm adopted in this family. How
hmm
did you come back to that?
Yes, so that's been a journey of mine that I've been navigating for all my life,
Mm-hmm.
unconsciously all my life, because my family here, my parents are white. So there's a very big difference between the way that we look. My brother
Right.
was also adopted, my older brother, but he's adopted from Korea. So we have a very multicultural looking family.
Mm-hmm.
So connecting to my roots and my ancestors really started more deeply in my late 20s, I would say. That's where a lot of
Mm-hmm.
these questions, started getting asked the more I was turning in and tapping into myself, asking
Right.
where do I come from? Like, what's part of my lineage? The more I started getting into the feminine work that I do and the midwifery work that I do.
Mm-hmm.
it started to pull in these questions, not only for myself, but for the women that I was working with. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's been a journey that it's an ongoing road. It's always going to be there because there's a lot of unanswered questions for myself, about
Mm-hmm.
being adopted and from where I was adopted. There's
Yeah.
records, but not a lot of records. So I can't just kind of get the whole map.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been an interesting journey in and of itself to figure out,
Yes.
the parts of my past and my distant past. Um,
Yes. Yeah. And how, yeah, you know, when we talk about identity and just finding yourself, your ancestral history, those roots around even money,
mhm.
like, in your early relationship with abundance or survival, what of those stories when you were like starting to ask yourself in your identity, was there anything related to money that made you look a little bit deeper into your ancestral history or
Yeah, I always have struggled with the notion of like deserving. Whenever I'm
mm,
doing with my work, when I started my business back in
mm-hmm,
about 2020, it was like the struggle of deserving the money that I'm making, the struggle of
mm-hmm,
deserving um the clients that I'm working with, whatever it may be, just having that struggle of deserving what it is that I'm
mm-hmm,
creating
mm-hmm,
for
mm-hmm,
myself. And I
mm-hmm,
realized that that was, an ancestral trauma, a line that had been, excuse me, a line that had been passed down through my red thread, coming out in
yes,
this existence through me in this present moment. And that was really big to deal with. That was hard to deal
mm-hmm,
with, because it brought up, again, like I said, a lot of unanswered questions for me coming from being
mm-hmm,
adopted from Haiti, a country that is a very poor country, one of the
mm-hmm,
poorest of the Western world,
mm-hmm,
and not having the answers to kind of really figure out, you know, where this is really coming from. So having to do those deep dives into myself and really feel out where this energy is coming from and like knocking on
right,
those doors, it was a lot. And
yeah.
yeah, it's big energy.
Yeah, and how did that look like? Like what was for you like that story? Yeah, how do you feel it in your body?
How do I feel it in my body? It was, oh gosh. I'll start by this. So I was living in a cabin in the woods on Vancouver Island.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I was just in like a little mini forest. I was living off grid and I would just get these like urges in my body and I started tapping into this energy. It was really beautiful because I was living by myself in this cabin. I, obviously was spending a lot of time by myself and I was
Yeah.
outside in nature. So I was really able to connect and tap into my like soul's energy. And I would also
Mm-hmm.
use a bit of like mediumship and Akashic records readings to kind of get answers to these questions. So feeling it in my body, I can't quite say what it felt like specifically, but just having these questions would give me this sense of asking these questions. I'd have this knowing, and I would just start having conversations with like myself and my higher self, or myself and
Mm-hmm.
my guides, myself and my ancestors. And I was really tapping into this energy that I hadn't felt before and really getting things coming true, having lots of truth drop into my
Mm,
system. And like I would feel it,
mm-hmm.
when you feel a truth, you feel it in your heart, you feel it in your womb, you
Right.
feel it throughout the body. And I was getting these moments of like these little truth pulses. And yeah, it was really interesting to have that because it's like, how do you know it's a truth if you don't have someone to back it up
Mm-hmm.
for you? How do you
Mm-hmm.
know if it's a truth
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not able to like read my adoption records or, speak to my past family members, get in contact with them? But
Exactly. Yeah.
it just lands in as this like warm feeling throughout the center channel. Um,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to that because my mom passed away when I was 23 years old, but it's still like,
Mm,
I still when I had my baby, I didn't have my mom at the time. So, but there's a lot of what you said, like you receive that
mhm.
message. through your
hmm
body,
hmm
through however you're aligning yourself with spirit or
hmm
whatever, with yourself.
hmm
And what was it? What was that message like? What was the truth, if you can um, share with us right now? Like yeah, how did it look like? What was that message that took you to
It
take
was
the next step?
Yeah, it was basically just with the questions I was asking, was just getting the message of you're on the right path.
Okay.
And I was like at that time, delving
Mm-hmm.
into like where the geographic location of my distant ancestors had come
Okay.
from. So yes, I was born in Haiti and that's where most of my ancestors came from, but
Mm-hmm.
all of the African people that live in Haiti and much of the Caribbean were
Mm-hmm.
brought over through the enslavement trade from West Africa over
Right.
to these countries. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily our indigenous homelands, but it's the
Mm-hmm.
place that we have settled and lived in, not to our own choosing, but where we've made homes for ourselves for the past, 500, 600 years due
Yeah.
to, the colonization of the world and all of that. So I was delving deeper into like, okay, I understand that Haiti is my homeland, but I know it goes deeper going into
Yeah.
that and really feeling out like, okay, these West African countries, like how can I compare myself to these people, to these women, to the spirituality that is from this nation, this country
Mm-hmm.
of people, this continent of Africa. How can I connect my roots deeper into that part of my existence and trying to get those answers come through? So when I was tapping into myself and doing these Akashic readings and things, I just kept getting like, you're on the right path. You're figuring it out. Just keep asking these questions. And then I was getting answers, which some people would say, well, that's not true. You don't have, logical, quote unquote, logical proof. But it's
Right.
the proof that is the truth within my body and my knowing, where something kind of goes ding, ding, ding. That's it.
Yeah.
You've hit the nail on the head. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like that.
Wow, so interesting. I'm so glad
Hmm
that we have this conversation because
Yeah.
just for the listeners, like we've been working together for months now, and this is a
hmm
moment where I'm getting to know more of Karma's stories, and so interesting that you're in this cabin, and you were exploring those moments in solitude more deeply into your roots,
hmm
and yeah, I'm curious, like, what do you do next? Like, you were in that cabin, and what happened next?
Oh gosh, so many things happened. That was such a experience and such a journey into myself and just into the work that I'm doing. And like I said, I was dealing with a lot of the red thread, ancestral trauma coming through in my life of deserving and,
Mm-hmm.
working through, money patterns and money issues
Right.
that weren't necessarily mine. So after that, I've just kept yeah, my life has just been so crazy when I think back to it and think back to those 5 years and where I am now and what I'm doing now. It's so different, but everything that's happened has worked out as
Mm.
it's meant to work out for me to get to
Mm-hmm.
where I am. As hard as it was, the lessons that I had
Mm-hmm.
to learn and go through, I'm glad that I've done them now. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just really like trusting myself and knowing that I am struggling. I'm like was working in a hustle, kind of hustle and flow type of work. I was trying to be a pillar of my community at the time, which was hard to do because I was also working through scarcity mindset
Right.
and then also trying to support women and families to not be in there and to have the support that they need. So it was a interesting way of being, speaking to
Right.
people and saying like you need the support, you need the love, the nutrition, all of this to support you in your healing, in your pregnancy, birth, postpartum experiences,
Oh, because you
such.
started your
Because oh
midwifery.
yeah, sorry, I started doing my midwifery at that point as well.
Okay. Okay. I
And then
see.
not necessarily having it for myself and living in my scarcity mindset was like living in two different worlds, but still
Mm-hmm.
pushing through and being like, I can do this. I know that this is the path that I'm meant to be on. And
Right.
that was also the energy of like my ancestral thread of
Mm.
the pushing through, working through scarcity, working harder than what's actually getting reciprocated back, having
Mm-hmm.
the feelings of, am I deserving of, this money or of this, whatever it may be, having that energy of like, I don't deserve this, but I'm still working hard for it. And
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
kind of realizing that that's not necessarily mine, but it's coming through me as something that needs to heal
Mm-hmm.
was that's been a very big journey to work through,
Yeah,
to say the least.
which is for a lot of us, right?
Hmm.
Like I think most of us, 99% of society have lived through survival and
Hmm.
the mindset, the beliefs is that you have to work harder to push through. But
Hmm.
yeah, I'm curious, like, okay, when you're doing that, you're in Vancouver, doing the midwifery work. And I know you went, in some point, you went to Costa Rica and you lived 3 years there, was
No,
it?
just 1 year, just
One
one.
year.
Hmm.
Okay, okay.
Hmm.
So how was that? How was that transition from living in Vancouver, Canada? You've been living all your life here in Canada. Then you went to Costa Rica. How was that experience? And
Hmm.
how was about that experience that you felt that was like transforming your relationship with money,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, so moving to Costa Rica wasn't such a big shock for me because
Mm,
for most of my 20s, for about 8, 9 years of my 20s, I had
mm-hmm.
been traveling the world. So I'm very
Okay.
used to living outside of Canada. I've lived in many different countries. I've traveled through many different countries, a lot of it by myself, sometimes with
Mm,
friends and people. So I'm very used to, picking up and starting afresh somewhere new. Costa Rica was a big, expansive journey, which
mm,
really opened my eyes to a lot of, how would I say this? Opened my eyes up to a lot of, again, that financial trauma that had been carried out through my red thread. I was living in Costa Rica with my ex-partner at the time, and we had this really beautiful plan to live there and have babies in this country and
mm,
make this our life, buy a plot of land and, really live in this beautiful way, on the
mm-hmm.
beach in the jungle, living in
Beautiful.
our freedom and all of that. And as time went on, that plan did not come to be. There was
Mm,
a lot of moving parts within that where we went through very intense financial scarcity. We went through very intense relationship issues
mm-hmm.
that were very deep-seated coming out between the both of us. And it was really a pivotal point in the relationship where it's like if we were going to build and start a life together, all of the
Mm-hmm.
things that we were dealing with should have made us more of a united front so that we could deal with it together. And
Right.
it didn't. It totally put a separation in between the two of us,
Mm-hmm.
which is good to know now that we didn't, do the
Of
things that
course.
we wanted to and get entangled in that way after experiencing all that.
Right.
Excuse me. So all of that financial scarcity really allowed me after the fact, and this is all stuff that I realized in hindsight, but like being in the
Mm-hmm.
moment and being in the energy in the present moment, it was just so hard and
Mm,
really emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually hard on myself, hard on my partner. And then getting out of that situation and realizing after the fact that all of the energy that I was moving through and feeling and experiencing in that time in Costa Rica was basically cataclysmic energy, the catalyst, there we go. The catalyst
yeah. You got
energy
it.
that was there to like basically burn through all of that financial hardship that I had been dealing with, that my
Mm,
past ancestors had dealt with, and then
mm-hmm.
also healing that trauma for my future ancestors. So it really brought me to
Mm-hmm.
this really beautiful space of where I'm at now. But just all of the lessons that I had learned, all of the experiences that were had in Costa Rica were so tough. And I
Mm,
realized that, yes, it was me experiencing what I was experiencing in the present moment, but
right.
also it was the energy of some of the past women, my past ancestors coming through
Mm,
also so that it could be felt, it could be seen, and that energy could be witnessed. So there were
absolutely.
times when I was in Costa Rica and I was like thinking, am I going crazy? Like I cannot be
Mm,
holding so much grief in my body. Like what
yeah.
is actually going on? I couldn't figure it out until later. And it was like,
Mm,
oh, it was you were holding the grief of yourself, but you were also holding the grief of like five, six, seven other
yeah.
women all coming
Mm-hmm.
out through my vessel. And I was just like, oh my God, that was so hard. It was
Mm-hmm.
it was so tough. It wasn't the year that I wanted. It was the year that
Mm-hmm.
I needed though,
Right.
because speaking to the financial aspects, it totally just like burned away all of those loose
Mm-hmm.
cords, those
Mm-hmm.
ends, that financial scarcity, that inner turmoil that myself and everyone else behind me was going through, and really changed the landscape for what it is that I'm going to be able to create and build for my future, for the future of any children if I choose to have them in this lifetime. Yeah, so it
Right.
was, yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I feel that also the environment, like Costa Rica is so like pure. That's why like pura vida,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's that environment also that brought all those experiences. And of course
Yeah.
the relationship part that, yeah, once you have that mirror, it's like, yeah, you have to face it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. That's something that, yeah, I'm really glad getting to know you a little more in that
Mm,
part, because yeah, now I'm also thinking about like, okay, in that moment, you're bringing all those ancestral history, you're working on it. And what about your parents, your Canadian parents? Like, how how are you, if you were, how are you sharing this with them, or how do you process this, if that was something that you were able to, share
mm.
and bring into the family?
I don't share that with them that much. That's kind of a
Mm,
different wavelength for them to
mm-hmm.
have more so the understanding. So I don't like,
Right.
I speak to them in terms of like, yeah, the relationship was really terrible and it was really traumatic for
Right.
me. And, you
Mm-hmm.
know, there
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
abusive tendencies that were happening. And like, I spoke to my parents about that. But when it gets to the deeper ancestral healing things, I
Right.
don't generally speak to them about it. Not
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want them to know about it. It's just we're kind of like at different places in our spiritual journeys to where if I
Yeah.
spoke the
Mm-hmm.
way that I'm speaking to you, it
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
land with
Mm-hmm.
them
Mm-hmm.
as it would.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one of the reasons why I came back to Canada and why I'm going
Mm-hmm.
back to Vancouver Island is because I have really, really amazing girlfriends there. And I was
Mm,
able to, you know, fully open up and speak to them and grieve to them and cry to them. And they saw, you know, all of me as I was moving
yeah.
through that experience last year. And that was one thing as well, being in Costa Rica was knowing that
Yes.
community is something that is so important to me. And I
Mm-hmm.
need that. I need to be around my women. I need to be around people that love me. I need to be around people that truly understand me. And so, yeah, I have my community, my chosen family who I go
Mm-hmm.
to with this kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, which was my saving grace throughout that whole experience. And I have some really good girlfriends here in the Lower Mainland as well that were able to, you know, witness me through all of that. But it's more so I keep that with my chosen family. And then
Right.
to the family that I was adopted into, it's to certain levels and degrees that I have these
Yeah.
conversations with. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's so important to mention, for all people, immigrants
Mm.
and adopted children that might feel the same way. You are in your personal
Hmm.
journey. This is very
Hmm.
personal, and the people are in the same lane where frequency
Hmm.
are the ones that you're feeling open to share with. Thank
Hmm.
you for sharing that.
Hmm. Mm.
Um, I'm so glad I'm also on the island, so we're gonna get to
Yeah.
know each other in person
Oh, I
finally.
can't wait. Yeah.
That's gonna be awesome.
Hmm.
So yeah, I wanna ask you, after, you know, yeah, after you processing all that in Costa Rica, what is that you are offering now? What is that you are now feeling that is your work, your
Hmm.
service to people? We
Yeah.
all know what you're doing, what you're up to now.
Yeah. So I like to say my devotion to the world is
Mm-hmm.
midwifery in
Okay.
different ways. So I practice traditional midwifery for women
Mm,
that choose to birth their babies free of the system, that want to have the support
mm,
to
mm-hmm.
be able to birth in their power.
Mm-hmm.
And that encompasses, everything, working with young women, young girls that are
Mm-hmm.
just going through their first experience of bleeding, all the way
Oh.
to elder women that are leaving their time of bleeding and going into their
Mm,
menopausal years or their
right.
sagescence time.
Right.
So everything that encompasses everything from birth all the way to death. I support women education through education,
Mm-hmm.
witnessing, one-to-one mentorships, all of that. And then also witnessing birth experiences. And then I also like to say that I am a financial midwife. So that was all of the energy from last year culminated
Mm-hmm.
into like, I need to get my financial shit in order as well.
Right. How did that
And
happen?
yeah, so like I said, last year was the fire burning away everything, all of the trauma,
Mm-hmm.
all of that red thread, that financial trauma from my past generations. And then now I'm moving into like the rebirth, the flourishing. So like when a forest
Mm,
fire happens, like everything
yeah.
is dead, but then all of a sudden the fireweed starts to come back and all the plants start to come back and the ground
Mm, mm-hmm.
begins to get lush again. That's where I'm in right now. And so as a financial midwife, I use that term because it works both ways, supporting women
Mm-hmm.
in pregnancy, birth, postpartum, or supporting women with money. A midwife is
Mm-hmm.
there to guide them, support them
Right.
in the choices that they want to make, show them something that they might not have known to help them navigate this journey. So that's what I'm doing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just taking basically all of the skills and tools that I know of midwifing women and their
Mm-hmm.
pregnancies and their babies to midwifing money because it's very similar. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm really passionate about it because I truly believe that money in the hands of women will change this world, just
Mm-hmm.
like women birthing in their power will change this world. And when
Yes.
more women have access to the knowledge and the education to bring financial abundance into their life through really rooted and grounded ways, everything will change.
A thousand
Everything will
percent.
change.
Yes.
They will change, their families will change, their communities will change, every person around them. There will be a big lasting change. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what last year taught me as I was in the deepest, darkest places of my existence at that time. An opportunity came up where it was like, you can learn about money. You can get into this industry and start to learn about money for yourself and then use
Mm,
that guidance to give to other people. And then it was just like, okay, this is where I'm called to go. If I'm going to
mm-hmm.
heal my money story and that of my past and bring healing to that of my future, this is the place that I need to start in.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing this now for almost a year. I think it will be a year in, oh, maybe not almost a year, maybe half, 6 months, 7 months,
Mm,
doing this
mm-hmm.
work and just finding so much value in it. It's been so beautiful to support women in this way and see
Yes.
them change their finances in the present and see how they can change it for their futures, for themselves, for the children that they have. So yeah, it's just been really exciting navigating this new space as a financial midwife.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to contact you, how will they reach out to you?
I'm very active right now on Instagram. Well, it
Okay.
depends, like dependent on where I'm in my cycle. I'm active on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, but I always read DMs, so you can send me a DM. At my handle is at primal underscore woman underscore.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I love speaking to women in my DMs. You can also send me an email if that feels better for you. It's primalwomanportal@hotmail.com. And I just love to, or actually, I'll give you my financial midwife email address. That one's better.
Sure,
Um,
sure. We'll put it on the description.
yeah,
But yeah.
it's karma.financialmidwife@gmail.com. So if you want to
Okay.
reach out to me for that, yeah, that's a good
Yes.
email address. And then, like I said, I'm always on Instagram. I'm making fun reels talking
Mm-hmm.
about money and how I can midwife you into your financial future, which is like, I just have fun with it because I think money should be fun for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And for the
Mm-hmm.
longest time, having money, trying to make money, circulating money, spending money, all of that, it was never fun for me. And now I'm finding the
Mm.
joy
Mm-hmm.
in it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
finding the joy in it, I'm seeing it return back to me, and it's like it's becoming this game. Um, so yeah, that's just what I want to create for other women and support them in that way. So
So
those are,
beautiful.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, so beautiful, so lovely, and I feel so aligned with you. And I think that's why we're working so well together because I also got
mm-hmm,
my postpartum doula course a long time ago. But yeah, the combination of supporting family, as you said,
mm-hmm,
supporting women in, this journey of being a mother, and then just having that, the time very limited, and just having that knowledge and that you
mm-hmm,
know all those practical steps to support yourself, support your family. Like this is
mm-hmm,
so beautiful, Karma. I feel
mm,
this is very, very helpful for all the women that are listening. Just go check Karma's
mm.
Instagram. I love it. It's so fun. And yeah, go contact her. Even if it's just for chatting. She will love that, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. I love talking to people. If anyone like
Yeah.
reaches out, I'm like, yay, let's be friends now.
Yeah, of course. Oh,
Mhm,
oh, thank you, Karma. So I have like a little ritual that I'm gonna start doing with all my guests
mhm,
here in Raíces y Alas. So this is just to close up. If you could gift one root and one wing to the next generation, to all these women that you want to support, what will they be?
mm. A route. A
Uh,
financial route or just anything?
Anything that can anchor someone in whatever they are experiencing that is coming, if you
Mm,
think about Ruth, like whatever you were experiencing in that moment in Costa Rica, that it was just like,
yeah.
this is what is anchoring me.
Mm, yeah. Okay. So I would say for the anchor is to always trust yourself. Always use
Mm,
yourself as the center point. No
mm,
matter what
mm-hmm,
anybody else is trying to tell you or say what is right for you or what's not right for you, always tap back into yourself. Especially as women, we have our internal compass, our internal guiding system
mm-hmm,
is our womb. So tap back into yourself and tap into your womb if you can, because it will always give
mm,
you the guidance that you need. So that's the root. Stay firm and rooted in yourself, your body, your truth
mm-hmm.
over anybody else's. Don't try and change your
Yes,
truth to fit anybody else's because it will never work out for you. Always
yes.
come back to yourself. And then for the wings, I
Mm-hmm.
would say,
This will be like something that, yeah, help
mm,
you in that moment of transformation. You're like,
yeah,
oh, I'm coming out of there. I
yeah,
can.
I would say always know that as shitty as things may be, and as much, suffering that you're dealing with in your life, because like all of last year was just a complete grief portal for me. Just suffering,
Mm-hmm,
suffering, suffering in the
mm-hmm,
depths of grief, the depths of grief. And I was just like, this is never gonna end. I'm never gonna get out of it. But
right.
just know that as much grief as you can hold or suffering that you can hold,
Mm-hmm.
to the exact opposite of that, that's how much joy and pleasure you will be able to hold in your life. So
Oh,
be open to that. Like really take it in. And if you're grieving, if you're,
ugh,
feeling like you're in a place of suffering, just accept it. Be like, it sucks, and that's okay. I'm not happy where I am right now, and that's okay. You don't need to change it because one day there will be a moment where something shifts, and then you'll
mm,
start to move into the space where little bits of joy start coming back into your life, little bits of pleasure start coming back into your life, little bits of happiness. And then
mm.
to the exact amount of grief that you held on one end of the spectrum, you're going to be able to hold that much pleasure on the other end of the spectrum. And that's just how
Mm.
we are as human beings. If we can hold a lot of grief, we'll be able to hold a lot of pleasure. And that's how we know that we can hold one or the other, because we have to experience them both, because we live in this dualistic world. We can't have
Exactly.
pain, we can't have the grief without the pleasure. We can't have the pleasure and joy without the grief and the deep sadness. And they're both beautiful places to be, but we're just so conditioned in the culture that we live in to
Mm-hmm.
think that the grief and the sadness and the anger is bad, or it's wrong, or it shouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
expressed. But it needs to be expressed in order for us to go back to the other
To see the
side.
other side. Yes.
Exactly. So know
Oh.
that your feelings, whatever you're feeling in whatever moment you're in, it's okay. It's
Mm.
okay. And have people in your life, whether it's girlfriends in your life, whether it's male friends in your life, have at least one or two people in your life that can witness you where you are and just say, that's okay. I love you. They don't have to try and change you. They don't have to try and direct you or tell you where you need to go in your life. Just have someone there that will completely accept everything that you're saying and still love you, no matter how deep in it you are.
That's
Mhm.
the way to wrap it up. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Adriana.